Assalamu alaikum. Today we will learn about the uh, addition of vectors. The definition of the vector is a quantity having both magnitude and direction is known as a vector. Now, addition of vectors. Vectors A and B are given below. Find A plus B. That is, we want to find the vectors A and B. This one is vector A and this one is the vector B. The rule for adding the vectors is we will put the tail of one vector, this one is the tail of B, at the head of the other vector without changing their directions. This one is the method to find out the resultant of the uh, to add the two vectors. So solution is this one is vector A. Now I will put the tail of the second vector B at the head of the vector A. Now this one. In this way, we can add the vectors when we want to. If we have an other vector, third vector, I will, and that third vector is this one. I will put this vector C at the head of the second one, like this. Now these three vectors are added. The tail of one vector should be at the head of the last vector. Now, a person travels from A to B. A person travels along the vector A in this direction and then travels along B. This one is the initial point and this one is the final point. Joining the initial point with the final point, this one is the addition of these two vectors. This one is A plus B. You may call it C. The shortest path is known as the resultant and is the addition of the vectors. In this case, the resultant is joining the tail of the first vector with the head of the last vector. This one is the resultant. And we will represent the resultant with the help of double arrow. If this vector is C, then this shortest path is A plus B plus C. This one is the addition of three vectors. This one is the resultant of A and B. Now, we can also add the vectors in another way. That is, we will put the tail of the vector A at the head of the vector B, that is at this place, in this way. Now a person travels along the vector B, then along the vector A. The shortest path is this one. This one is the addition of A and B. This one is the addition of A and B. To add the two vectors, the tail of one vector should be at the head of the other vector. This one, you can see that in both the cases, whether A is drawn first or B is drawn first, the resultant is the same. The addition vector is the same one, that is C. Now, C is the resultant of A and B. Yes. A and B are known as the components of C. A and B are known as the components of C. or addition of A plus B is equal to C. Now I will elaborate this concept with the help of other examples. Now, this one is question number 4 from exercise 3B. Question this first of all, we will attempt this question number 3. Express in terms of a single vector the sum of the following vectors. PT is equal to TR. PT is equal to TR. This vector is PT. This one is the direction of PT. And the other vector is TR. This vector is TR. Now you can see that the tail of the second vector T is at the head of the first vector PT. That is, both are same. So the tail of the second vector is at the head of the first vector. The conditions for, we have fulfilled the conditions for the addition of vectors. So the shortest path, the final path is from P to R, is from P to R. This one is the resultant. The resultant is PR. Resultant is equal to PR. Now the second part is SQ plus QR. Now the second part is SQ plus QR. SQ is this vector. S is the tail, Q is the head. And QR is this vector. Q is the tail, R is the head. And you can see that the tail of second vector is at the head of the first vector. So addition can be performed. The shortest path is this one. We will join the tail of the first vector with the head of the last vector. And the direction will be same, this one. The shortest path is SR. So the answer to the part B is the resultant is SR. Now in the C part, ST plus TR, a person travel from S to T and then from T to R. You can see that the tail of the second vector is at the head of the first vector. So addition can be performed and the shortest path is from S to T. Sorry, from S to R. In the next part D, a person travels from S to Q and then Q to T. You can see that the tail of the first vector is at the head of the tail of the second vector is at the head of the first vector. So the shortest path is ST. Now you can see that the relationship between first and the second vector is the tail of the second vector is at the head of the first vector. The tail of the third vector is at the head of the second vector. So addition is possible, and the shortest path is PR. In the next part, RQ, QT, TP, PS. Q, Q, T, T, P, P. The tail of the next vector is at the head of the previous vector. So the vectors can be added, and the result shortest path is RS. In this way, we can add the vectors. Now I will give you another example to illustrate the concept of addition of vectors. ABCD is a quadrilateral. Simplify AD plus DC. Now you can see that AD plus DC. The tail of the second vector is at the head of the first vector. Tail of the second vector is at the head of the first vector. So the answer is AC. The all questions are very simple. I will attempt E part. Now you can see that there is a negative sign between the two vectors. First of all, we know only the addition of vectors. First of all, we will convert this negative sign into positive one. If I will change the direction of this DC, it will become, that is, if I will convert this one into CD, it will become negative of DC. When this will become negative of DC, to find out a negative vector, we will multiply the vector with a negative sign. And we have learned this one in lesson number 1. So when we will convert this one into CD, this will become minus CD. AC plus CD. Now you can see that the tail of the second vector is at the head of the first vector. So the final answer is AD. We will also attempt the next part in the same way. CB plus BD. Change the direction of AD to change this minus sign into positive, plus DA. Now you can see that the tail of the second is at the head of the first, the tail of the third is at the head of the second, and the final answer is CA. Now I will give you more examples to illustrate this concept. In question number 5, PQRS is a parallelogram. O is the point of intersection of the two diagonals. Simplify PQ plus PS. Now, this one is PQ, this one is PS. We will move this vector PS at this place QR. As PS and QR are equal, so PS will exactly fit at QR. Or we can say that PS is equal to QR. Now we will write down this one, PQ, and at the place of PS, we will write down QR. And you can see that the tail of the second vector is at the head of the first one. So the final answer is PR. Now third part, question number 5A3. We will convert this negative sign into positive by changing the direction, plus RS plus SQ. Now the tail of the second vector is at the head of first, and the tail of the third vector is at the head of the second vector. So the final answer is PQ. Now we want to attempt question number, I want to attempt question number B, part 3. We want to find out the value of x. We want to find out the value of x. So I will make x the subject of the equation. X is equal to RQ minus SQ. I will change the direction of SQ to make this one positive. This one is QS and equal to RS. Now, next example. This question is very important. Find x in each of the following cases. The diagram is given. This vector is C. This vector is C. This one is U. This one is V. This one is A. This one is V. Part A is x plus U is equal to C. X is equal to C minus U. Now we want to add C and minus U. This one is the vector C. This one is tail. This one is head. Now we will put the tail of minus U at the head of C at this place. This vector is U. This vector is U. Now, but we need minus U because here we have C minus U. C minus U. We will change its direction to convert this one into minus U. Now, this one is minus U. Now you can see that the tail of minus U is at the head of C. The tail of minus U is at the head of C. So they can be added. Now a person starts from the tail of C towards the head of C, and then from the tail of minus U to the head of minus U. The shortest path is this, and this vector is B. So the answer to this question is B. X is equal to B. This one is the answer to this question. Now B part. X is equal to X plus A is equal to B, and X is equal to B minus A. We want to put the head of minus A, the tail of minus A at the head of B. We want to put the B is the first vector. B is the first vector. This one is the first vector B. We want to put the tail of minus A at the head of B, or we want to put the tail of B at the head of minus A. This one is A. We will convert this one into minus A like this. This one is minus A. This one is minus A. This one is minus A. This one is B. Now you can see that the tail of B is at the head of minus A. They can be added. And the shortest path is this. This one is the answer to this part. The rest of the questions you can solve. Now I will give you examples how can we add the column vectors. In question number 10, find the values of A and B in each of the following equations. You can see that in part number A, on the left hand side, there are two column vectors and there is an addition sign between them. And on the right hand side, there is one column vector. We will add the column vectors on the left hand side. AB plus minus 2 and 3 is equal to 5, 2. A, we will add the horizontal components, A minus 2, and we will add the vertical components. And this one is equal to 5, 2. Now, as these two vectors are equal, so the horizontal and the vertical components should be equal. A minus 2 is equal to 5. From this one, we will get A is equal to 7. And from the vertical components, B plus 3 is equal to 2, B is equal to minus 1. These are the values of A and B. To add the column vectors, we will simply add the horizontal components and the vertical components to get the addition of vectors. This one is all about the lesson, and you can attempt the exercise 3B, and the link is given in the description of the video. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.